Hi YouTube, this is Fee. So I got a few requests asking how I normally water my orchids, so I decided to make a video and show you how I do it. So I probably have mentioned a few times in my other videos that I use the weekly method, meaning weekly. So I water every week or more, depending on season. And the other weekly is not heavy, lightly. So weekly. So this is the fertilizer, orchid fertilizer that I use. This is not the original packaging. I kind of took it out and put it into another bottle. But this is the brand of orchid food that I use. This is not the bottle, okay? But I'm just showing you the brand. I think the orchid. I think this is a fairly good. This brand produced fairly good orchid food. And it's fairly balanced. I believe it's 2015, and the orchids like them. So what I do is every time I water my orchid, so this is the supply that I use because all my orchids are in my family room windowsill, and it's not next to like any sink or anything. So I use this 2.5 quart bucket that I got from like Home Depot or something. And what I do is I usually add about maybe a 1/4 teaspoon. This is all I use every week. I mean, not every time I water, this is how much I use. That's it. Okay, don't use anything more than this because you're using it every week, so you don't want to put too much. So I already have an orchid sitting in the bucket of water. The water is already I already did this, so I'm just kind of demonstrating to you again. So I just drop this in the water, okay? I drop it and I add cold water in it. I mix it, make sure it's mixed. And then I just dunk the orchid in the water, kind of swish it a little bit. And then I usually let each orchid sit in the water for maybe 30 seconds to a minute, just so all the bark and the medium soaked up all the water. And I take it out, and then I let all the excess water drained off the orchids, okay? So I do this with every orchid that I have. So I'll go from one end to the other, and I do the same thing, and I use the same bucket of water over and over again. It's no problem. I don't have any orchid disease or anything because they're not hanging outside. They never go outside. And I feel like the method I use, earlier I mentioned that I sometimes, and I also said that in my other videos, that it depends on the season, that I don't sometimes water every week. If it's winter, it rains here, so it's a little bit more humidity. I might water every 2 or 3 weeks. But during the summer, it's much drier. I would water every week. So it really depends. And after a while, and also another thing is, by using this method, you get a chance to, hold each orchid when it's completely watered, and also when it was light. So you kind of get a feel of how heavy it is when it's completely watered versus when it's not, out of water completely. And then another thing is, I also like to err on the side of underwatering versus overwatering, because overwatering certainly will mean certain death for the orchid. But underwatering, I have not had any fatality due to underwatering. Yes, the leaf might be a little bit droopy and stuff like that. But then after you watered it, after I watered it and give it like 5-6 minutes, all the leaves kind of stiffen up already. And they're very healthy, no problem. But over the years, I have certainly killed quite a few orchids due to overwatering. So if there's anything to take away from this video is I would recommend erring on the side of underwatering versus overwatering. and very, very weakly fertilize. Don't over fertilize. And yeah, that's it. Thanks.